All right.
Well, Derek, it feels good to be back, man.
It does.
Every Thursday,
Yep.
get to hang out, drink some beers.
It's the best day of the week.
It's my favorite day of the week now. I always liked Thirsty Thursday, but now I love Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah. Thursday's always been marked on my calendar.
Absolutely. Wine Wednesday, not so much. I'm not a wine guy.
Yeah, that's marked on my calendar too. Spirit Saturday.
Spirit Saturday. Is,
Libation Sunday. Mocktail Monday.
Yeah.
Tequila Tuesday.
You could. I mean, it's Taco Tuesday, but then you have to have like margaritas.
You have to.
Or Mexican beer, which is generally kind of shitty. Well, Derek, we've got a really interesting guest today.
I'm excited. From the little bit you've told me, it's gonna be awesome.
We've got a doctor.
Yeah, that's crazy. Not a doctor of love, not a doctor of beer, but like an actual doctor.
A doctor, a PhD, who is a scientist who has worked on a lot of different pathogens, and really excited to have him because he's familiar with COVID, has knowledge of COVID, and we want to ask him some questions about that.
Yeah.
But by the way, we're not going to deviate from our normal thing. He's still drinking beer with us.
Oh yeah, and he's scared of something.
He's got to be scared of something.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, very excited. Let's roll this thing.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, my name is Stu Hawk, and this is my podcast about all the weird, crazy, spooky things that scare me and my guests, and the one thing that helps us forget all about them. Ladies and gentlemen, beer freaks. And we're back.
Hey,
Spence. Dr. Swarts, I should say.
Dr. Swarts. Yeah.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So what I want to preface to everybody on this podcast is Spencer and I, and the reason that I call him Spencer and not Dr. Swarts, which I do actually very much respect him, which it won't sound like for the rest of the podcast. This is the most respect I'm going to pay him. We've known each other since second grade. We went to elementary school, middle school, high school, and college together. We've been best friends since we were 7 years old. And we love each other, but we definitely act like we hate each other. And he's a doctor. He is a brilliant dude, and he is very familiar with the thing that is afflicting a lot of people, along with a lot of other pathogens. So really happy to have you on the show, man. I've been wanting to get you on for a while, so thanks for zooming in.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Dude. So first of all, I think what we got to jump straight into today.
Yeah.
Just straight into it.
We have to.
Because we've already given you a lot of street cred, right? You're a doctor. You know some shit about COVID. All right, we'll give you some credit there.
Yeah. He's
now-
got a little bit. He's kind of an expert.
It's kind of a big deal. But now we got to knock you down a peg, okay? So Spence, Dr. Swarts, what are you afraid of?
My wife and I just had our 4th child, and I got to say,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. But what's ahead of us to raise these kids for the world that exists in 20 years and 30 years, it's a challenge, and I think it maybe raises the level of fear. I'd say it's concerning.
Yeah, I would agree. I only have one, so I have 1/4 of the fear that you probably have there. But I would concur, man. It is a wild, wild world.
It's insane right now.
Yeah.
What kind of kids are, I should say, how many boys, girls?
2 boys, 2 girls. So the oldest is
cool.
6 years old, and then we have a 4-year-old girl, 2-year-old boy, and then we have a newborn daughter.
Okay, awesome, man. That's cool. Heck yeah.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
You really got like the perfect just structure there. You got
Yep.
It's not just like a bunch of boys in front and a bunch of girls in back. You got literally all the way through. They can all keep each other in line. They can all protect each other. It's kind of perfect. You kind of got the perfect setup.
It's perfectly planned too. 642 new.
There's an engineer to all this, and it wasn't me.
Jeez.
Thank you for laying out your premise. I think it's a great fear. I think it's a fear that a lot of people have. In fact, I know when we spoke with Matt Brady from Astronomy Aleworks.
Yeah, I asked him that question.
You asked him that exact question.
And he said if he had kids, he would be scared. That is the question that made me the winner that night.
Yes. That gave you the 0.1 extra
winner.
point, which is why we're not going to have guests on Without Fears anymore, because I can't allow you to beat me in this trivia 2 times in a row. So, Spence, we got a couple of beers, and because you're in San Diego, right? So we're in Vegas, you're in San Diego. We couldn't go shopping together. You're not here in the studio. So I bought a couple of beers on Tuesday. I sent it to you. You didn't have the same selection, which perfectly fine, I think, for the first one. Mm-hmm. And the second one we'll make do. It's fine. Because look, at the end of the day, you got the same brewers. So we're going to start, by the way, with Modern Times.
Perfect. Love those guys.
And by the way,
out of your home. Out of your home too, Spencer, right?
So we got Modern Times, though. This is my loose translation because, Spence, I tried to find some beers that aligned with your fear, and there just wasn't a lot of shit out there that was like Future or something like that. I'm sure there are plenty of beers, but where I was shopping, there didn't happen to be. So what I got Modern Times, which is a great San Diego brewery, and everyone who listens to the show knows that I'm very passionate about San Diego beer. I'm very passionate about the Las Vegas beer scene too.
Yeah.
So I'm not, but everyone knows San Diego knows how to get shit done.
It's amazing.
Okay. So Modern Times, I just thought that there was a bit of a tie because look, it's the modern times. That's what we're worried about. That's what I'm worried about with my son. We're dealing with a lot of political polarization, weird shit going on, potential World War III. So why don't we fucking open this thing?
Yeah, I like it. Let's just
Modern
get
Times,
into this.
Because my correlation of the beer name was not that good.
Thank you, sir.
So we don't need to talk a ton about it. But let's just say this. So we're drinking Modern Times Critical Band, which is a hazy tropical IPA out here in Vegas. Spence, what's your Modern Times?
Yeah, I tried to match it. This is a hazy IPA. This is Alara.
Alara. Okay.
Right.
It's got much better artwork on it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's pretty. But yeah,
Yeah,
I tried to match the flavor profile there with the...
Okay.
Cool.
Well done. Well done. I appreciate that. Ours is 6.7%. How much is what's your ABV over there?
We're rocking 7.
Oh,
damn
he
it.
beat us.
He
Dang
beat
it,
us.
man.
Fuck.
See, you're going to beat
I can't
again.
win. I can't win. I can't win. God damn it. Yeah, but you know what, Spence? I've drank like 3 beers even before the show, so fuck you. I know the answer to this question, Spence, but what's your favorite drink?
I mean, rum and Coke's my standard beverage, but
Yep.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Heck
Your
yeah.
Wise IPA, I'm definitely looking for some interesting
yeah.
ones when I go out.
All right, Spence. Hey, virtual cheers from Las Vegas.
Yes.
You're here.
Raise a glass.
Cheers.
Derek.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Let's see how it is. What do you think? It's okay. I'll drink it because it's alcohol abuse if I don't. But I am not a big IPA guy.
Yeah.
So I'm a weird beer guy. I love like the mango habanero beers. Like if there's something really weird that people are like, I'll never drink it, that's my stuff.
That is true. You drink the weird shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bud Light Lime?
Oh, no, I won't go that far. No.
Yeah. I think you get shot in San Diego if you drink non-craft beer. I think you get kicked out of the town or hanged. It's
So old times.
Spence, have you ever experienced that? Like, do you get called out if you like drink bullshit beer?
Yeah, it gets pretty ugly around here, I'd have to say.
Sure. Well, because you live in Escondido, which is right next to my favorite brewery of all time, Stone. I mean, you're right down the road from those guys, and we're still courting their CEO. Oh, so there you go. That's actually the beer. Derek's holding up the beer right now that Stone sent us for free because we almost got their founder on the show. We almost got him, and he, he's a busy guy. He had to pull out. But out of really gracious courtesy, they said, you know what, we know he can't come, so we want to make, we want to be good people. We want to be good, a business. So here's a couple of beers to share amongst you guys. So that was really cool.
It's pretty amazing. And it was fat. Like I almost like when you told me that, I'm like, oh, they're just kind of saying that, whatever. And
was
then
like 2
2 days later, you had beer on your doorstep.
It was like 2 days.
It's crazy.
And it was a Saturday delivery, which I know
Jesus.
costs a lot of extra money too. So good on you, Stone. We're not even mad. We'll have them on soon enough. Yeah. So Spence, well, let me just follow up Derek's comments. This beer, and I do like Modern Times actually. Modern Times has made some really good beers. This beer is kind of bland to me. I don't know if you're getting that at all, but
It's definitely not like that IPA that we had, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. You brought one, and I'm like, dude, okay, I can totally rock this IPA.
Yeah, I mean, it's got, it's got a decent punch to it, but like literally it just doesn't have anything special to me that blows me away.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I look at basically any Stone IPA, you're going to get something unique. Generally a pretty good punch of IPA, or hops, I should say. Or with Belching Beaver Ghost Bride, you get a really weird and interesting flavor that comes through sort of at the end of it. And honestly, I don't even know how to put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. So yeah, I mean, so anyway, for me, Modern Times, Critical Band. I mean, it's not bad. It's just, I don't think I'd return to it. I don't think it's anything that's like special to me that I'm really getting a whole lot out of.
Yeah.
Again, decent flavor. I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but we've had some really good beers on this show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of tough when you have really good ones, and decent ones just aren't as good.
Yeah.
As they probably are if you don't have really good ones.
We're raising the bar here.
Yeah, man.
We're raising the bar.
Yep.
Okay, Spence, so you got another Modern Times beer. So what are you thinking about it so far?
So, my first reaction is I can't believe this is 7% alcohol. It
Wow.
goes down real smooth. It doesn't, like yours, it doesn't have that punch of like most IPAs that I kind of am looking for. But I mean, It's good. It's got a little, I think it has some tropical notes in there, but I'm enjoying it.
Stone fruit.
The fucking stone, the ever elusive, the always elusive fucking stone fruit.
Have you ever had a real stone fruit, Spencer?
I don't even know what a fucking
Dr.
stone fruit
Schwartz?
looks like.
No.
He's operated on a stone fruit before. He deconstructed the fucking stone fruit. He invented the stone fruit. It didn't exist.
So is this like one of the better IPAs you've had, or?
I wouldn't rank it that high, to be honest with you. I definitely like something that does not have the fruity tropical notes. I want something a little more, kind of punches you in the nose.
Got you.
So, Spence, I want to spend a little bit of time while we're drinking all the beers that are very unimpressive to us. Sorry, Modern Times. I mean, like,
You guys got good stuff.
You guys do.
This one not
You have great stuff.
the best.
These just were not winners for us, and we'll have it on again, and we'll figure it out. But while we drink these bad big beers, not bad. Again, sorry, Modern Times, not throwing you under the bus. While we drink these okay big beers, Spence, tell us a little bit about
Tell us about you.
Well, I want to go specifically to this moment.
Yeah.
I got a call from Spencer back. It was either in January or February, and I'm going to call you out, Spence, because you had. Again, you work in this industry. You work in these pathogens. You had some early information. You understood what was happening. You called me, and you said, "You got to worry about this virus that's coming. You have to be concerned about what's happening here. You might want to consider doing a few things," which obviously in retrospect were, intense. But actually at the time when we looked at, because we were looking at the data together. And I mean, we were on a phone call, I think, for like 3 hours. We were looking at the data together. And this was before the coronavirus had become like a big thing in America. We were looking at the data, and it was like a 5% or 8% death rate in China or something like that.
Yeah.
And Spence, you told me, you were like, you might want to consider like moving out of your house, like sleeping in your car, just literally delivering food, delivering groceries, making sure your family's safe, but like you got to be the one out in the world. Tell me what was going through your mind when you were first learning about this virus.
Sure. I mean, I think one way to look at a lot of it is through not what's certain, but like the amount of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And so, when reports first started coming out of China, early January, You know, when you hear something like 5 to 8% death rate, I mean, it's a little unbelievable. Just because you know that death rate is people who are in the hospital, who were super sick to begin with, you know, who were tested. And so the reality is probably much lower than that. And so, I mean, what I saw coming was a huge wave of uncertainty rushing over our lives. You know, we're still in that. And so, I mean, you know, the virus isn't nearly as deadly as you know, the initial reports had suggested. But, you know, what I saw coming was something that, you know, we didn't understand that was going to get many of us. Most of us probably not, you know, die from it. But, you know, I think for a lot of these things, you know, going forward, it's like what's, you know, no matter how bad the virus is, the fear is almost what you need to be more concerned about, right?
Sure.
And so preparing for that, you know, especially if you have a few weeks, you know, before you think it might happen, you know, just wanted to encourage you to stock up. And, you know, if this thing, fortunately, this thing wasn't as bad as those initial reports, but, you know, wanted to look out for my buddy, make sure he, you know, had his toilet paper.
Yeah, good call, because it went away quick. It went away quick.
The toilet paper, not the virus.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
I remember when we got the directive from our governor.
Was it March 14th or something like that?
That liquor stores, like a bunch of stuff was going to close. Man, we heard that. We left our house in the Lee's Liquor, our liquor store, before we moved to this house, was literally down the block. We left, we got to the liquor store, and I've never seen that store so packed.
Oh, yeah.
It was like people went there, and then we went to go get our dog food. Petco or PetSmart, whichever one we went to, was packed. Like people, like they knew, like, all right, we're gonna go. We got to take care of us, our pets, and back to the house.
Yeah, it was wild, man. And you know, getting that call, I think early in January, you know, it was really interesting, and it really put me on high alert. It was, you know, I think what was really cool is you and I basically got on the phone, I think, every week for probably the next month or so. Sort of for like an update of like, okay, what's up now? What's up now? And I think one of the things that really relieved both you and I, as people who have kids, was we started to see that there was almost no death rate for children. And that was like, okay, at least we got that. You know, I might die, but, you know, the kids are going to be okay. And then we started to see more data and more data. I mean, Spence, at what point did you start to feel, I'm not going to say comfortable, because I don't think anyone's comfortable, but like when did your mind start to shift around, like what does COVID mean for people, from this could be like a deadly global pandemic to this could be an economy shifting, paradigm shifting pandemic?
Sure. So, I mean, you know, obviously I was, you know, concerned about, you know, my immediate health, that of my immediate family, you know, when I was first learning about it. But, you know, I think I'd say probably April, May, you know, it started to become pretty clear that like children were not being affected by it. And so, you know, in my mind, then it kind of, you know, our response to it transitioned, you know, not from like, I need to keep myself safe and keep myself from getting infected, to more of like, okay, this is about making sure the virus isn't spreading so widely that the hospitals are overrun by, you know, folks from nursing homes or, you know, elderly folks. So, I mean, that's kind of where I evolved, or, you know, around April, May, I'd say. That's right. So I still am concerned. You know, they're talking about in, you know, long-term effects in a variety of, in many people who have survived it, right?
Yeah, the long haulers.
Right, the long haulers, but not even the long haulers, but those are people who have symptoms that they are experiencing that exist for a long time. But they'll take people who, you know, who have recovered from the illness, aren't experiencing any symptoms, run, say, a heart test on them, and they'll find heart damage, the presence of heart damage. I'm definitely more relaxed on it at this point, but in terms of it like causing immediate pain and, you know, suffering and death. But again, that cone of uncertainty is still quite large. You know, we're not going to know for a few years, right, until all the data's in.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. because, Spence and Derek, you guys both know that my family had it.
Yeah.
Amanda, myself, and Jackson had it. And, we're in a low risk group. We're all young. None of us have any chronic illnesses that were, worrisome, but we had heard that. We'd heard read a lot about the long-term effects of, like on your lungs. If you have COVID, that there could be up to 30% lung damage. Like your lung capacity could be reduced by up to like 30-40%.
Wow.
For the foreseeable future. And they don't know how long that could potentially last. And to your point, Spencer, it could literally be, someone who's asymptomatic. And I was asymptomatic, and I haven't noticed anything specific, but who knows? I mean, who knows what the long-term impact could be?
Yeah.
The other thing that I really wanted to ask you about, actually, there's two follow-ups that I wanted to ask you. One is based on what we were just talking about. Kids were relatively unaffected by COVID. Do we have any idea why yet? I mean, is there any understanding of why kids were relatively unimpacted by COVID?
So I think part of it has to do with their ability to activate their immune system, and they're kind of able to stamp it out before it's able to kind of take hold. The other big component of it is that there seems to be in the people who they're on ventilators in the hospital, in the ICU, is that there's this inflammatory reaction that's happening, that doesn't appear to be happening in children also. So it's kind of both parts of it, that there's the kid's immune system's reacting in the right way. And then the elderly people, their immune system's reacting the wrong way, overreacting, and then causing damage that is kind of, typically is associated with people who die from COVID.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah,
I mean, and obviously it's sad, of course, across the board. But boy, I don't think people could have been more relieved to find out the kids were going to be relatively low impact on this. I mean, whether you had kids or not. Yeah, now, maybe Matt Brady wouldn't have cared. I don't know if he would have cared or not. But look, it is what it is. So I mean, that was definitely good news. Now, the other thing, Spence, that I wanted to ask you about is reinfection. So reinfection, my understanding right now is that there's only 5 confirmed cases in the entire world of reinfection. That doesn't mean that there's only been 5, but obviously 5 confirmed. What does it mean for, to have such a low statistic when we look at this, and how should people be proceeding if they've already had it?
If we take the cousins of COVID, the virus that causes COVID-19 is SARS-CoV-2, right? And if we look at the cousins of that, the viruses that are related, a large number of them cause the common cold. And so it turns out the influenza virus, the reason that you get reinfected with that one is because it mutates and your immune system doesn't recognize it the next time. With these coronaviruses that cause the common cold, it's not that they mutate, they stay exactly the same. It's just that your immune system hasn't built up the right response to identify them. If, the past is any indication of the future, I think the assumption needs to be that we're not going to be immune to COVID-19. Now, with the coronaviruses that cause the cold, you're typically immune from them for about 4 months, so 120 days. And so, you have 4 months of immunity to it, and then you get infected again, right? So these bugs can just stay in like a childcare setting, right? The same exact bug bouncing around from kid to kid to kid. They bring it home, you get sick again. Now, maybe if you have a severe infection, then you're going to mount a more robust immune response, and then you're going to have longer immunity. But I think the assumption has to be that we're not immune to it.
And I think that that's a fair assumption to make. I mean, obviously, we all want to be as careful as possible. But isn't it strange that there's only been 5 confirmed?
So, in those 5 cases, what they have done is cultured the virus. So the first time one of the patients was infected, they cultured the virus and got the genomic sequence. And then they got reinfected, and then they cultured the virus again and sequenced that virus. And so they're able to say, hey, look, these 2 viruses have different sequences. These are different infections. Yeah. And so the bar to identify conclusively that somebody's been reinfected twice is really high, super difficult. let's say, okay, well, if we've seen 5 of them, maybe there's 50,000, right? 50,000 out of many millions is still a small percentage. But you also might need to take into account that after an initial infection, you're probably, one might assume, immune for 120 days.
Yeah.
So, let's go back to somebody who was infected in March. Well, they're going to be immune through July. They're not going to be able to pick it up again. And so, once we get out of this window of a whole bunch of people catching it and then getting into the not immune state, if that exists,
sure,
we'll have a better idea. But again, that's the problem. Is like we want to know things about this virus that aren't going to be known for months, if not years, right?
That's a really interesting point to make too, which actually leads me to a third question that I wasn't expecting to ask, but now I definitely want to. So the vaccine, right? The idea of putting out this vaccine really quickly, which of course everyone wants, or not. I shouldn't say everyone. Actually, a lot of people are really concerned about the vaccine if it came out so quickly.
Yeah. No.
so you're a no.
I'm a no, man. Yeah. That's way too quick. You don't know any of the effects. You don't know anything. I mean, I'm a guy that doesn't ever take the flu shot. You know what I mean? Like I got a pretty good immune system, knock on wood. But even if I did take it, like it's just way too soon. What vaccine has come out and taken with that fast? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
But I want to say not probably many, because you need to test it.
I certainly wouldn't think so. And based on his history, the answer is absolutely not. So Spence, I'd love for you to, Dr. Swarts, can you tell us a little bit about like historically vaccine trials? How long does that take? And would you be concerned about something that came out in, let's say, December of this year?
So, I mean, I agree with you guys. If they could come out with a vaccine that was 100% effective and 100% safe, I would be ecstatic, right? That's what we all want. But I agree. The aggressive timeline does bring in consideration a lot of worries, considering what is typical of other vaccines. When you couple that with the fact that, we're at very low risk of having any any effects from the disease, if like we knew this was going to kill us if we caught it, we might be all like, let's take that vaccine. It looks like it might be effective. But the fact is, we're more than likely going to be asymptomatic if we were to get infected with it. And so it makes it a lot, on an individual level, whether you want to take this vaccine, a lot more difficult, I think, to decide. But on the other side, of course, is that if we want to reach this herd immunity where we're not putting our, at-risk populations at risk, it's going to take 90% of us to take this thing, And if you look at the polling, some of it, at least I've seen, is like 50% are people, it's kind of gone back and forth. But, what's the point of taking it if only looks like 50% of other people are going to take it, and then it's not even going to be effective anyway at that level.
Can you quickly explain what herd immunity means? Because I feel like a lot of people don't totally understand the herd immunity concept. I think some people think just what herd immunity means is just throw everyone out there and see what sticks. And the people that die. I think people have totally different understandings of what herd immunity is. So could you just explain that for us?
So the term originates from cattle, from immunizing enough cattle such that I forget in this case what the virus was or what the bug was, but such that so few of them are susceptible to it, can get infected by it, that it's very unlikely that it's going to keep spreading continuously throughout the herd, right?
Okay, one more question that I have, because this topic is fascinating to me. I mean, again, Spencer or Dr. Swarts, whatever we want to call you at this point. One of the things that I heard about the melting of the ice caps, or global warming, is that there are, in the Arctic, there are a lot of caves and there are a lot of things that are being exposed that they've been in permafrost for thousands and thousands of years. And they're exposing bacteria and they're exposing viruses that actually have not been prevalent and present in basically modern human society.
In modern times.
In modern times. If nothing else, modern times, thank you for the relevant brewery name.
Boom.
I mean, have you heard about this? Have you thought about this? Like, what? Like, do you, I guess my deeper question is, are we going to be in a situation eventually where we're just in a constant pandemic? Like, once we get past COVID, are we just always going to eventually be dealing with this kind of shit where it's never ending?
So I've definitely heard about this, like, bugs being brought up from, ancient bugs. It's not clear to me that they have the risk of transmission that, like, say, some of the bug, COVID-19, for instance, like, I don't think you're going to find anything like that in the soil. Who knows though?
Yeah,
these things may be tens of thousands of years old. I think obviously what we have to be much more concerned about are the viruses that are evolving today. If you look at SARS, a number of years ago, MERS, SARS-CoV-2 that we're now dealing with, this transmission of viruses from animals to humans, that is going to be what gets us, right? That's what happened with swine flu or H1N1, right? That was from a pig farm in Mexico. And so I think if you take proper precautions when you're excavating a permafrost site, you're going to be probably fine. I don't know if they're planning on, if somebody's mining it, maybe you're going to be in trouble. But clearly what we've seen in the last 20, 30 years are all these bugs coming from animals to us. And so, kind of to answer your bigger question of like, are we going to see these things? I'm inclined to think we will. I kind of look at this bug, and as for all the tragedy and all the suffering that's happening, I look at this as a warm-up pitch, right?
Jesus.
If you look at what happened in Europe in the, with the plague, a third of people dying, that was a bacteria that was causing that. And so, probably be easier for us to mitigate at this point and say if it were to, happen again. But, we're fragile beings, a small particle with a unique combination of, genetic code can change the entire world. That's what we're seeing right now, right? One angle I think about is all the viruses we didn't find, right? How many viruses have evolved out there that just kind of died out and, never infected a human, but if it had, it would have, caused what COVID-19 is doing. My guess is that it's hundreds or thousands of them. I think we need to look at this bug and say, hey, this is a total wake-up call. In the U.S., arguably, we had a lot of the resources necessary to deal with it, and they weren't utilized. Mm-hmm. But, I see this as an opportunity to say, hey, worldwide, we don't need to kill each other anymore. We don't need war anymore. We got these bugs that are killing us. Yeah. Let's focus all our resources on fighting that. So, I mean, kind of a silver lining in the situation, maybe we can stop killing each other, kind of focus on these darn bugs that are coming out.
What an incredible idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart. I mean,
that's a beautiful sentiment. And damn,
yeah,
I could not have said it better. I'm sure you think about this a lot more than I do, but well put. Very, very fucking well put.
Anyway, we got to get into Matt's fear.
Spencer's fear. Dr. Swarts' fear.
Who am I thinking of?
You're thinking of Matt Brady, the astronomy L-Works guy.
I was thinking about more beer, and that's what made me think of that.
I know. I'm ready to have more beer.
Yeah.
But you know what? We also need to get into the fear part. Spence, tell us a little bit about like your fear of, I guess raising kids right now and the modern times that we're living in.
Sure. I hate to strike it up to the level of fear. I feel like that's my greatest concern. Slightly bordering on fear. Sure. I definitely see it as the most difficult mission in my life that I'm going to have. And the one I'm least certain that I'm going to be successful at. But I mean, that's raising kids, raising kids to be prepared for the world that's, coming in 20 years. I feel like if you look at, kind of through most of human history, even prehistory, right? Like, what do you have? You have, parents teaching their children exactly what to do to survive and to live and to have kids of their own. And, that worked for a long time. And then, I don't know if you want to say the last 300 years, the last 50 years, last 30 years, sometime in the last, 2,000 years, that paradigm's broken, right? Certainly now I'd love to teach my son to do what I do and for him to do what I do. That would make me incredibly proud. But there's no saying, in 25 years when he's ready to do it, whether a robot's taking my job, right?
Sure.
There is the, being, economically competitive in the future, the world they're going to have. Obviously a lot of concerns with that, with climate change. I look at it through the lens of challenges, but, fear creeps in, definitely.
What do you think about, so specifically around what you said with your son, or any of your kids, the idea of automation taking over, that's a real idea, and Andrew Yang talked a lot about this in his short primary campaign about UBI, the idea of automation and the future of humanity taking part in, actually creating or production. It's called production in the world. What do you think about that? Do you think that automation is all that it's chalked up to be? Which I think is really interesting and a fascinating topic. Do you think that humans will always have a value in the production chain? Do you think humans will have to take a sidestep into art? Do you think that humans will continue to evolve the ways that we think about production, so we'll always have sort of value there? What do you think? What do you think your son will be doing 30 years from now?
Yeah, that's really tough to answer. Obviously humans are always going to have value in the production chain. The question is how many humans are necessary to produce a vast quantity of product, right? And the future that we're all fearing isn't that nobody's going to have a job. It's just that very few people are going to have a job.
Sure.
And it's not that only the educator are going to have a job, and we're seeing this even now. It's not enough to be educated. You either have to be brilliant or know people, or have a combination of both. That's kind of how the world is, but it's just like that's going to. I fear that that's going to be more the case, right? And so, whether we fear automation or not, it's hard to say what to do, right? Are we going to crack that?
The Quattro.
We're going to crack this.
Well, we can.
Yeah.
Because I think my beer's empty.
Yeah.
My beer's empty.
My mouth is dry.
My mouth's dry as fuck. Spence, you talk too long, man. I'm just kidding.
Damn
it. It's actually just been a really great line of questioning. But let's open this beer.
It's a breakfast stout. Who's it from, Stu?
So this bad boy is from Founders. And again, I just want to clarify. Spencer is in San Diego. We're in Las Vegas. So I don't think we wound up with the exact same beer, but we wound up with the same brewer. Okay? And I think we're close enough for rock and roll.
Yeah.
Term that I like to use. The selection that I got was the Founders Breakfast Stout. Great beer. And part of the reason that I got it was because it has a child on the cover. So at least the artwork sort of aligned with your fear, Spence. But then on top of that, for the future, to provide our kids, to provide the next generation with the best possible start, what better way to start than with a good breakfast?
A good beer. Oh, well. Good breakfast. Both.
I was going to sort of like ellipses the beer. I was going to say like a good breakfast and then ...
beer
like for us. Yeah, but you know what? Good enough.
Good enough.
Beer, they could start with beer too. All right, Spence, what do you got, man? You got a Founders as well, but you got a different one.
Yeah, I got the Founders.
Oh, we had that one.
KBS.
We had that one 2 weeks ago.
We did. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was going to say that looked familiar.
Heck yeah. That one is good.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's a little hard for me at the moment.
Yeah, it's like mud.
Yeah, no, this is thick. We're looking for the percentage on 12. Okay, we're at 12.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
damn.
up
You got
there,
a 12.
dude. Yeah,
Woo!
that's up there.
You're going to be up. You're getting smashed. You're getting smashed tonight. So, hey, again, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Spence, your Founders. Slightly different from ours.
But
But yours is 12%. Ours is,
It's what,
I think
8?
ours is only 8.3.
Yeah.
So you're 50% higher than ours. You're going to be smashed. It's good.
Spencer's kicking our butt tonight. 8.3. Yeah.
Yeah, he really is. He selected better than us.
Yeah. That's all right. We'll get him next time.
So Spence, we were talking before we cracked these bad boys
Technology.
about so like the automation and the technology, but I want to get back to like the main fear, and like, so your fear is about, future generations and what's going to happen to them, and raising kids in this modern time and what that's going to look like for you. What's in store for the future of your kid? What's the biggest thing that concerns you?
I would say, in the general sense, probably climate change. I mean, I think that's going to be, this ball's kind of rolling, and even when we realize it's time to stop it, there's going to be a lot of momentum keeping it going, making things worse.
Sure.
Maybe 10 years ago, I would have thought that we wouldn't really see much of it in our lifetime, but it seems like the effects are going to be, they're happening now. They're clearly happening now. They're going to continue getting worse. And, obviously by the time our kids, are adults, is San Diego going to be a good place for them to live,
Well, Coronado will be underwater almost for sure.
No, that's my favorite place.
It's where I proposed to my wife, Coronado Island, man.
Where at?
There's a little French restaurant called Chez Loma.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, but that's going to be gone, whether it's the earthquake or global warming.
Coronado's our jam.
Anyway, the point is, Coronado has no downside other than, to Spencer's point, within whatever time span, it's either going to be underwater due to global warming or my theory, earthquake.
Dang.
Sure. I'm not sure Coronado specifically, what their elevation is. It might take a little while for them to get soaked. In the 1800s, the entire Central Valley of California flooded in like 16 feet of water.
Does that play into it at all? Like, I mean, maybe not because it's salt water that came in, but like, did that help moisten the Central Valley to like become this agricultural phenomenon?
Well, yeah, it would have been salt water, right? From what I read, the Native Americans that living there at the time, they knew to flee before the floods rose. They knew it had been raining long enough. Intuition.
They had their farmer's almanac. They had their farmer's almanac ready. They knew it was coming. Basically.
Right, and so maybe that was a once in every few 100-year thing. The likelihood of something like that happening. And I mean, it's not just that by itself wouldn't be a big deal, but it's just a thing on top of thing on top of thing. Life, part of me feels like, for the last 50 years, we were promising easier life, right? We had robots doing things, self-driving cars. Life is supposed to get easier, right? That was the guarantee. That's what the Jetsons had. But to me, the realization is that our human condition isn't one of things getting easier. We're never going to have to work less. If we want to stay competitive in a global economy, we're not going to work 20 hours a week. We're going to keep working 60, 70 hours a week.
That's an interesting point. That's a really interesting point, man. Because, I think there have been studies about like the productivity of the American worker over the last like century, basically. And obviously it's gone up tremendously with technology advances and all that kind of stuff. And you could say, like, look, if you want to just stay on the same trajectory of productivity, then absolutely life would get easier, right? Like you'd say, well, look, technology is advanced. My efficiency has increased this like tenfold. So in order to get done what I used to get done in 40 hours, I can now get done in 4 hours, right? But that's not the way that competitiveness works, unfortunately. The reality is, if we program computers and machines that can learn exponentially faster than we can, which again, I'm not saying that this is happening in 5 or 10 years, but we're getting closer. I mean, it's happening faster. The reality is, we won't need humans to produce things to survive. What we'll need is humans to produce ideas and to produce bigger things to think about the next step.
Yes.
And we might not even need that. We might not. It may just be like you need to just like do something to
push a button.
Well, yeah, but even I mean, obviously, then the question comes into play of like, what are we even here for, right? Like, what's our purpose?
Yeah,
we all serve a purpose right now through our careers and through our families. And if the career thing goes away and it's just family, like, not to say that that's not important. Of course, family is very important. Mm-hmm. But I think that takes away a big chunk of what we're trying to actually accomplish as a human species. So there's always going to be something that we're trying to do, trying to ideate around, trying to think about.
We get to create our future. We get to create our current, state. We get to decide what we want to be. What kind of society we want to be. And if we just go with the completely capitalist approach, obviously there's issues. If we go completely socialist approach, there's obviously issues there. I think the best approach is somewhere in between. But the fact is, we hold the decisions we make will decide the future, right? It's not going to be, if we let the computers take control, it's because we decided to do that.
So let's just wrap this up. I got 2 more questions for you, Spence. And Derek, you can jump in too if you have any more questions.
I'll find one.
All right. So just, again, going back to the original fear, the biggest thing that freaks you out is climate change. What's the one thing, if you wanted to change everyone's, not mind, but if they could do one thing, what's the one thing everyone could do to help out with climate change?
Supporting initiatives at a national level that encourage changes in behavior, is a big step forward. Obviously, all of our individual actions add up to a big difference. So the less we can use, carbon, fossil fuels is going to be better. But yeah, I think just supporting policies, candidates, proposals that
what you're saying right now sounds to me like you're telling people go fucking vote for the policies that matter for the future of the world.
Absolutely.
All right, Spence. So my last question for you. By the time this podcast airs, we're going to be a week away from Halloween. What's your favorite scary movie?
Or top 3?
Top 3.
If it's tough for you, yeah, do a top 3.
That's tough.
I like some Halloween.
For sure.
Jamie Lee Curtis, a little bit of...
original, we're talking original 1980.
Sure.
God, I hate to say it, like, it's weird now, but Hostel.
Oh, ooh. Dude, yeah, no, for sure.
A little bit of gore, huh?
Man.
Little gore?
It showed me, how dark humans can be.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Which is what we're looking for with the Halloween season, right?
Of course,
and then let's go with Coco.
Dude, Coco's amazing.
Wait. We're talking about the Disney movie?
Yeah, the Disney movie, Coco. Yeah,
First of all,
I'll give you that.
First of all, Coco is incredible.
Coco's amazing.
And yes, technically I would put it in the Halloween genre. Dia de los Muertos, absolutely.
Day of the Dead, dude.
It's not scary, though. It's not scary.
No, but it's a great movie.
It is. And the song at the end does make me cry.
Yeah. Okay.
But you know what? The first 2 that you named were really good.
Great.
So I'll give you a pass. Well done. You know what? Because this will probably be the last podcast we really do before Halloween. Derek, what's your favorite scary movie?
Totally, I'll give you Halloween for sure. Definitely the first one, easily by far. I mean, wow. Then they just slowly start to get bad.
Well, sure.
I really like Freddy Krueger. Obviously, my last name is Krueger, so I got that all the time. But
it's kind of perfect.
Amazing movie. And then, God, I'd have to go with, one movie that's really kind of still screwed me up is Paranormal Activity, the first one. Only because, I've had a lot of, interaction with, ghosts, totally lived in a house that was haunted. So that movie, just really kind of connected. So I think that's why it scared me so much. But yeah, I'm a big fan of just the old school stuff, like Halloween, Jason. I mean, all those are classics. You can't beat them. What are yours, Stu?
I'm just gonna throw the Trump card on the table.
Trump. That's not a scary movie. That's all of 2020. All of
It
2020.
was actually 4 years. It wasn't even 2020. It was just the whole
4 years.
No. My trump card, not political withstanding. The Shining, best horror film ever. Best horror film of all time. You can't beat Kubrick.
No,
Stephen
Kubrick's
King
good.
influence.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson
I'll give you
absolutely destroyed it. And Shelley Duvall got a lot of shit for the way that she played the character.
Dude, did you read all the behind the scenes stuff on that?
Yes.
Like they were giving her,
Yes.
like they were totally just ripping her a new one
Yes.
during the set, like to where she was crying so much.
Yes.
Oh man, I read that article. It was crazy.
That movie was a work of passion from
Mm-hmm.
Kubrick. I know Stephen King hates it, but he should. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. He needs to embrace it. Don't even fucking laugh at me.
We gotta have Spence on more. I like this. He's known you since you were like 7.
Yeah, well, Spence knows too much about me. We got to cut him off.
I love
Spence,
it.
we're going to turn you off right now. Click. Dr. Swarts,
Yeah,
thank you for joining.
We know you
Talking
got a lot
about
of-
your pathogens.
we know you got a
that
lot of
you're
doctoring
creating.
to do. It was great. Like I loved all the info. It was amazing.
And if you want to see the After Hours edition, follow us on Instagram and we'll play a couple extra minutes.
And follow us on Patreon to get it.
Damn right.
Bye.
We'll be seeing you.